Isn't that recording at all?
Take two. Hi.
Hey! Good.
I am Shane.
That looks better. That looks like it's actually recording.
We're moving. We are moving in
Okay.
time continuum.
In time continuum. Okay.
This is Derek.
Hi, everyone.
So I am here in Boulder. I came to this circling extravaganza and I met this lovely man. And I'm really proud and excited to always present on communication, intimacy, embodiment. And there was pieces missing. I couldn't exactly figure out what the pieces were, but in speaking and being in connection with Derek, which is why we're here together, I'm really excited about what he brings to the table in regards to the body and communication and intimacy in partnership, in dating, in relations, in everyday life, but mostly in intimate situations. And my interest is, when I work with mostly women and some men, is that there's so much like, it's like stopping and starting and disappointment when there's attraction. And so how do we operate through our lives in intimacy and feel good about it? Like feel physically good, but also feel in integrity and powerful. And I'd like to introduce you to Derek, and we're also going to be chiming in at different times, but I want you to share like what do you think or feel, or what's your passion about communication, intimacy, and connection?
Absolutely. My passion is connection through the body. So awakening the body so that when we connect together, it's a fully embodied experience. So like I was saying to you a few minutes ago, it's like for a lot of my growing up, a lot of practices, a lot of different things, it's working with the head, it's working with the mind, it's using certain tools with the mind to connect with others, which has its benefits for sure. But when we can actually drop a lot deeper than that to begin with, when we can actually drop deep into our bellies, connect with the earth, connect with the cells of our bodies, and awaken the energy in our bodies, then when we connect with other people, it's a complete body experience, and we don't have to second guess ourselves in our mind. We don't have to run around. Preemptive thinking was a word you used a few minutes ago. It was like we're waiting and we have these preempted scripts we're going to say to people. None of that shit needs to happen, because we can actually trust ourselves. And as I said to you earlier, we actually can trust ourselves in not knowing mind when we're not embodied. If we're not in touch with feeling our bodies, we actually shouldn't trust ourselves in a way, because we're running around from the head upwards connecting with one another. And it's actually not the essence of ourselves, and it's not going to work out, and that's where it leads to a lot of different problems. So when we can build our connection from the body upwards, then everything we dialogue about, every way we connect, whether it's physically, whether it's emotionally, whether it's whatever way it is, whether it's in business, whether it's in relationships, it doesn't really matter. It's like forming that fully body connection so we can trust ourselves, we can feel the other person primarily, and then everything we say from that is an expression of that. It's not a separate thing. Does that make sense?
It makes so much sense to me. And I also have this other mind that's like, what is embodiment? Like, what does that mean? Does that mean go to the gym? Like, what does that mean? Does that mean if I dance, now I'm in my body? And, you know, I teach embodiment, whatever that means, to people in a dance class. Yeah. How do I carry that embodiment in intimate relationships? Because I think that's what's happening for the most part in my tribe, in my coven world, is that women are like, I'm in my body, I know how to do things, but when it comes to relating either sexually or romantically or with a partner, the old school like teenager self steps in, where it's like, I want to be liked, I want to be cool, I don't want to create, and then all this preemptive planning, right? I'm going to say this, I'm going to do this, I don't want to be in person, can I send it through a text, like all that stuff.
Absolutely.
So what does embodiment mean to you, and like what's your background on this?
Absolutely. So as I said to you earlier, I started out training in psychotherapy and different things, and a lot of that stuff from the 60s to 70s onwards was a lot of mental based stuff, a lot of strategy, and it has its purpose, its value. But a lot of the movements that have happened in the last 20, 25 years, I've trained in Hakomi psychotherapy for a few years, and it's really about honoring the wisdom of the body. So coming into the body and finding our answers through there. A lot of people have discovered in the last few years, when they wonder, where is the unconscious actually is the body. So everything that's stored in us from those places is actually in our bodies. So when we're not aware of our bodies, we're actually often unconsciously operating from those places. So we're acting out different things. So when you're speaking about acting out those teenage different places and stuff like that, we're acting them out blindly because we're not aware of the unconscious, which is in our bodies. So the more we can tune into that, you were speaking about going dancing or going to the gym, are those things helpful? Absolutely. But are they enough in themselves? Usually not. Because there's actually a whole map of the body. There's the physical body, and then there's the energy of the body. Some people call it the subtle body. And when you can start to tune into that energy, when you have some awareness of what that is and how it flows and how it moves, it changes everything. It changes everything because you actually start to have some tools to anchor yourself in your body, not just in your physical body. The gym and other things can be really, really good for getting you there, even feeling a sense of flow and energy. But when you actually know how these things operate, it's like a roadmap. It's like a way of actually understanding how things operate. And that's been my interest for a few years. As I said to you earlier, I've spent a lot of the last few years actually in monasteries and meditation centers, deeply exploring those places. And it's, like I said, it's endlessly fascinating once you start to tune into those places, what's actually going on inside of us continuously.
It's mind-blowing. It's like the subtle body, maybe that's a new term or not, but most people know their body when there's a sensation, like, oh, I have chills, I feel fear. So usually it's an extreme situation that can send a message to the mind that creates stories right away. We make it mean something. But what you're suggesting, which is what I'm really excited about, is it's like we can have more control. And like, who wants more control? Like me. So when you have control and awareness of the subtle body, that's like different pockets in your life experience, you know when it's the right time, when you just have more power. Like, to me, that's actually more power.
It's actually a beautiful thing what you're saying around power and control, because it's actually quite paradoxical. The more you're actually in your body, the more you feel in your power and in control. And at the exact same time, there's a deep yearning for us to be out of control, but you're out of control in a way that you're fully embodied. So when you're out of control, you're able to be the full expression of yourself. It's spontaneous, it's open. And when you're in that flow, you can trust yourself. And that feels different. People can use different words for that, but that feels very powerful. It feels very creative. It feels out of control in an exciting, brand new, moment-to-moment way.
Yeah, like the masculine is like, okay, we're controlled because this is the body I'm in. I'm not going to like fall in love and lose my mind, but I might just fall in love and be in love and know that my body's like down with me and not.
And it's trustworthy.
And it's trustworthy.
It's trustworthy. And you can trust your body. You can trust your body infinitely. In a way, the mind is not anywhere as trustful unless it's deeply anchored in the wisdom of the body. But the body is infinitely wise. It knows. You know when you're with somebody and you're like, this person is kind of creeping me out. There's something wrong here. And you can easily override that and go back to your mind. But your body knows. You're like, there's something going on. And the more you get attuned to that, the more you're able to respond from that quicker and quicker in your life. And it's not a magic thing. It takes some work. It takes some time. But it's the only way to go. You know, the more you can get in touch with it.
And so everyone, I figure, is watching this is like, yeah, cool, I'm in. I want to know. Like, so what do people, and then big exciting news is we're not sure what's happening and we're really staying truthful in this, but we're going to be offering something together. Might be a retreat or an immersion or something, because I set a desire to meet a man that I could collaborate with. And I sort of forgot the desire, and then we connected. And then the next day I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. So what we're speaking about is unfolding as it goes. Like, we know enough to be like, cool, let's do this. But what would you say for like the interested man or woman who's like, yeah, I can totally understand the subtle body, my mind, and what are some, I don't know, practices or experiences? Yeah.
So one of the things I work with primarily is using the breath. So the breath is a beautiful anchor between the physical body and the subtle energy of the body, and later the mind. But using some breath practices, the way I like to work at the beginning, is working in a more of a subtle, gentle way, and then starting to breathe deeper, opening up first the base of the body, the pelvis, so we can connect with the energy of the earth and the energy of our belly. And then we're grounded, we're rooted. Often people, they try to rush in and open up their heart, but if you're actually not very anchored in your belly to begin with, the feelings in our heart can be very overwhelming, you know. So we take our time with that, we open it up. But like I said to you earlier, using certain breathwork techniques, it's actually possible to get a really deep experience of yourself in an energetic way that's that feels infinitely more like you than anything you've tasted before within 15, 20 minutes doing certain breathing practices. And those things can be so, so valuable because they can show you a glimpse of what's possible. And that's what I like to do almost at the very beginning when people are starting. It's just, so this is not a theoretical thing. This is not us just talking and yapping for hours and maybe you get some things, maybe you don't. This is directly, you're tasting it from yourself from day one. You're like, here you go. And then you get to see for yourself if it's something you want to dive in and taste further, you know?
I love it. I love it because I know everybody wants something difficult to do, but like it's not easy, let's say, but it is simple. And that's what your body can be like, okay, I'm down with this. And to feel an impact right away. So we talked about having like an intro evening, a free intro evening, maybe 20, 30 minutes with actual actions. You know, you'll have to sign up for it, show up for it on Zoom. But I'm really, really excited because I know that a lot of people who watch my stuff are like, excited about the work I do, but I don't think they know how it translates to themselves. And also with a lot, you know, in a lot of the groups I lead, I give communication tools, which are great. They're through lines. But what you bring out is so important. If it's not coming from an embodied place, like if you're not in my class or if we don't do movement first and then you go speak to a man and or a woman and you say what you want to say, your body can go back to a traumatized place of like, uh-oh, we're going to get rejected. And then you can be freaking out. You know, and it's then you're like, it's barely worth it to speak my truth if I'm going to go and be freaked out. And so what you bring to the table is such a big, deep piece that, you know, like I teach burlesque, it's movement, it's sensual, but that this work is attainable, anyone, anywhere, men, women, and that's like really exciting.
Absolutely. And those other tools that you're describing, they have such a beautiful place when they're anchored in the body. And you can trust them, as I said, so much more because you know when they're flowing and you don't have to preempt them so much. So it's not like an exact script you're trying to follow, but you know your intention. So it's almost like you take an intention of one of those things of what you're wanting to share with somebody and then you drop it into the body and you rest and then you open yourself fully in your body. And then when you appear with that person, you can trust when you open your mouth because you're so in your body that will form itself perfectly and arise. And it so often does. And you become better and better at that the more you start to empty your body like that. So that's what's exciting about it.
What would you say about like the people you've worked with? Like what do they get? What problems do they come to you or why do they come to you? And then what do they leave feeling or experiencing?
Often it's a sense of like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Like what the hell is going on here? I'm just kind of going through my regular motions. I'm in my relationship, I'm in my job. I'm not really sure what's happening. And I think everybody has a sense of something deeper. Everybody have a sense that there's something else about me that's fundamental, that's actually always here, but it's so often overlooked. And when you can start to tune into that, people call it awakening, people call it, what was the word, activation?
Oh, activation, yeah.
There's you can call it a lot of different things, but when you experience it for yourself directly, it's absolutely undeniable. And that's the most exciting thing for me by far of working with people, is watching somebody wake up. They're like, oh my God, I thought I was this little rat in a cage running around, living my life, doing my stuff. Maybe I had good stuff, maybe I didn't. And suddenly I'm like, wait a second, I am so much greater. And the body is the gateway to that. The body is the gateway. All of those wonderful traditions, Buddhism and Hinduism, all those things, they have all this wonderful wisdom to share. And it can seem abstract. You can be reading a book and it sounds like a profound kind of thing, but they're actually tangible, real experiences. And using the body as a gateway, those things start to become apparent. So that really excites me in sharing that stuff with people.
Great. And what are they, like when they're awakened, like, I mean, maybe this sounds like infantile to explain or say, but like, how does that impact their lives?
It's like you're seeing everything from a different, fresh lens. It's like you're going back to your partner and you're like, wow, this person is so beautiful and I've been missing them because I've been in my fucking head for the last 3 years looking at them and they're actually right in front of me. And yeah, it's not that you don't have the same problems. Some of them will disappear, but some of them will continue. But where you're operating from or where you're seeing them from, it can be so different. And that's so empowering. It's like whether you're out, your job, your children, whatever it is, they start to appear so much fresher and newer to you in your life experience. And that's what's so exciting about it, because that world is actually already always there. It's just we often don't have the eyes to see it. And it's through the body, through awakening that actually just, it's like, wow, this actually isn't something new in a way. It just actually, we need to just clear the fog a little bit. And there's a lot of fog around almost all of our heads, right? So
So much, and so much more coming in. Like the fog is rolling in via the news, the internet,
Exactly.
people, your
Exactly.
body, your weight, what you feel like. And I just want to put a little star that like sexual energy is a part of this. And that sexual energy, not just for intercourse, but to walk around feeling, you know, not
Absolutely.
just like, oh, I had sex last night, but like, oh, what is it like to cultivate that and have that be alive in the body as you move through your life?
The sexual energy is absolutely inseparable from creative flow. It actually comes up through the earth, it comes up through the genitals, comes up through the body, and it's this natural flow. So to be sexual in a simple way with everybody in a certain way is actually completely natural and real. You know?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
which can like, what does that mean, you know? But it's like, that's how we got here. Like, we're all born of sex. And so it's not popular in other people's worlds to be discussing this and to be activated in a discussion or having sexual energy with people. But there's so much more. But we're going to wrap it up because we're like at around 15 minutes and I want people to
Awesome.
stay with it. So, good job.
Thank you. Pleasure.
And stay tuned. We're excitedly going to bring you more stuff. And if you have any questions from this, wherever we're posting this, like write it in the comments below and we'll get back to you.
Sounds great.
Either together or separately or whatever.
Awesome.
But thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Take care, everybody.